Yeah, I lost my voice, so just bear me with this weird voice today. and okay, so we know like adolescence is a difficult time, unique and challenging. A lot of changes are happening, so we will go through some changes and like challenges when like you're a teenager and what you're going through, physically, emotionally, psychologically, like it just like a lot of things are happening there. So, can we move to next slide, please? Yeah, and next. Yeah, hormone changes. So this is like something like we don't know, we don't notice, but like your brain, something inside your brain, the neurotransmitters, the chemicals are changing within your brain. That's why puberty doesn't only mean that you're growing taller, stronger, physically more capable, right? Your brain is changing inside, which just means like you have a lot of emotional ups and downs. You're riding an emotional roller coaster, even though nothing big is happening outside, because big things are happening inside. That's why sometimes like when you, I guess like when we talk about like adolescence, when so like after you hit like 12 years old, that's like a lot of changes are happening here. So this is the first one, and okay, we move to the next one. Cognitive development. So for this one, so like for kids before 12, they think in a very concrete way. That's why they need to count their fingers and toes to do math, because like they don't have that abstract reasoning ability. But like for kids, when you are 12, you started to think abstractly, and you started to think about like deeper problems or issues like philosophical, ethical, social, and those kind of political, these kind of issues that you didn't think before. And also like the meaning of life, suffering, all sorts of things. So this is like that why we're having more problems or troubles inside. We're thinking differently. We want other people to take us seriously, to take our problems, our issues seriously. Don't treat us like a little child. This is what we need. But at the same time, with the brain development, so we know that like the frontal cortex, the like development starts like significantly in your adolescence, and like through like when do you think your brain will be fully developed? Guess. Yes, you know that, 25. So for here, young adults in college or post-college, your brain development is still in progress. Yes, so even like car insurance companies know that very well. They charge you much more when you want to get car insurance, right? And even like when you're in college, like your insurance rate is higher than young adult after 25. That means like our brain is not is growing really fast, but it's not fully developed yet. So you will have struggles in impulse control, in making good plans, good decisions, think thoroughly and carefully. We have a long way to go, but like we're in that progress. So like since like it's in progress, we have a lot of things to navigate in this kind of developmental stage. Okay, so next one is sense of self. Have you watched the Inside Out 2? Yeah, what do you remember about this concept? Yeah, so it's inside the brain, right? So to be honest, I don't like that movie. I don't like that movie, and I felt the first one is wonderful, it's great. I will get 9.5 for the first one out of 10. Second one, 6 or 7-ish. So because of like a lot of points on like places, and even the sense of self, I disagree with. But like this, they made a point. Sense of self starts when you turn to a teenager, like 12 or 13 years old. It starts about that time. Before that, kids don't have a concrete sense of self. And after this, like, so for like we know like Riley, it's like I'm kind, and then became like I'm not good enough, and then become like everything. I'm selfish, I'm me, I'm kind, I'm brave, I'm this or that. So this is like what the movie showed us. And for here, so when you're a teenager, that your sense of self starts, which means a lot. And because like you have a sense of autonomy, stronger sense of autonomy, you wanted to be respected as an individual. You wanted to be treated as someone who's different from your parents. You wanted to, so this is for some, in some families, especially if your parents are controlling, you may have more conflicts with them. Yeah, you may have that is like very normal for teenagers within a family that like parents are controlling. And that is one thing. The other one is like you may start to attack yourself. Your sense of self may go against you. This is like when we talk about like that sense of self. What is sense of self? It's like how you think of yourself, who you think you are. If you grew up in a family that is full of criticisms and judgments, you may internalize the criticisms and judgments you get. And even like from other people, from like, so for that, and they may become you think it's your own inner voice. For example, you may have some like negative self-talk, like I'm ugly, I'm useless, I'm not worthy. Those kind of things, you may start to attack yourself at this time. So this is why sometimes like when we have a negative sense of self, there's time like before that, like before when you are like in elementary school, we're not thinking that way. Because like they're thinking in a concrete way, right? So they're not thinking in this sense of like a self-attacking way, but like when teenagers, it may happen. So this is why, like attacks and criticism not just coming from outside, they're also coming from inside. Okay. Yeah, next one, academic stress. This one, I find like I don't need to explain. You all know, you know that very well. The big jump from elementary school to middle school, and from middle school to high school, there's big jumps. And then next one is social stress. So this comes with that sense of self. We have thoughts about ourselves. We have beliefs about ourselves, and we also care about what other people think of us. If other people like us, and we have like more social stress, and like we want to fit in, we want other people we want us to be liked, well liked. That's like it's a normal need of a human being. We want to be liked, and that is also. And sometimes like you may want to find a sense of belonging, so that is also very normal. And then like, but at the same time, we're dealing with some more complicated social interactions and social problems. We may not have enough social skills, such as like communication skills and problem solving skills. Like after conflict, how do I resolve this with my friend? After rupture, how do I repair this relationship? We may not have all those skills. We may need help. This is like why it's like this phase of life, this stage of life is really challenging. Yeah, any questions here? Okay, and this is also why, like I just explained, why it's many teenagers struggle with mental health issues because of those challenges and changes, and we don't know how to navigate. Okay, yeah. And if no questions, we go to some signs of depression. So I know, like, I got a question from you guys about like how to tell like how can I tell if like myself or my friends are struggling with mental health. Like depression, anxiety is like very normal like mental issues, like we in general, not just like teenagers, we struggle with, like feeling down, depressed most of the day, nearly every day, and the loss of interest in activities or loss of motivation, and significant changes in weight, either like you eat too much or too little, and difficulty in sleep, you sleep too much or too little, and fatigue all the time, feeling tired, difficulty concentrating, and recurrent thoughts of death. If this happen, or self-harming, if this is happening, that's a sign that this is pretty serious. You should seek professional help. Like let your youth pastor or youth counselor knows, or let your parents know that you may need help. If you any of like the suicidal ideation, any self-harming tendencies or urges, that's like this time to seek help. And those are like some social, or like you cannot finish your work, your schoolwork, you cannot, usually like you are able to go to class, but like now it's like you find like you cannot focus on your class, or like you cannot finish your school or your homework. Those are all signs that you may need help. Yeah. Okay, next slide is anxiety. Anxiety is another common issue that we, not just you guys, teenagers, like we, like grown-ups too, like struggle with. Excessive worry occurring more days than not, and feeling restless, fatigue, frequently feeling tired, difficult concentrating. So sometimes like I do find like ADHD is overdiagnosed. People, because like those are symptoms of anxiety and depression as well. So because like you will see that in both depression and anxiety, we have concentration problem. And the irritability, again, mad easily, and some muscle tension, like sleep problems and others. So those kind of signs of depression, of anxiety. So those two are very common, and sometimes they happen at the same time. They coexist. Okay. Any problems in those two slides? Okay, so if we will save some, we'll have a Q&A time later to tips that may help boost your mental health. Okay, first one. Eat well, sleep well, be active. I guess like this one, you guys have heard them many times already, right? It's nothing new. But today, I'm here to explain why to you. So it's not just like the common sense we all know. So for here, this is a, first of course, we know that like just as we said, and like puberty means like you're changing physically, and your body and your brain are growing. Like this physical growth and your brain growth needs nutrition, enough nutrition, the rest to grow, to sustain the growth. So this is why, that's the first reason. And when you don't eat well or don't sleep well, or like you're not active enough, you may get cranky, frustrated, and irritated easily. Why? So this adds on to the emotional roller coaster. Why? Because you're over aroused. When you're hungry, when you are tired. So we're short tempered when we're hungry and tired. And the arousals are from inside, not outside. Especially for highly sensitive people. If like you are in a super loud place, you may be worn out easily. That's arousals are from outside. And when arousals are from inside, it's like, I'm hungry, I'm tired. And then this is like how we get emotionally unstable, and like frustrated easily, angry easily. So that's why. And reason number three is that you have a hard time concentrating. Why? because your body keeps sending signals to your brain. I'm hungry, I need food, or even some other physical needs. I need to use a bathroom. I cannot concentrate, right? So your body keeps sending the signal to your brain that you cannot concentrate. So it interrupts your study. Or like when you are sitting here listening, like you need to use a bathroom badly, that you cannot concentrate, right? That's really easy to understand. This is why taking care of your physical needs is really, really important for you to function well. Yeah, and okay, next. Yeah, so that one, like the body keeps sending signals. It's like if like you have a phone in your pocket, your phone keeps buzzing, and you cannot pay attention to what I'm talking about, right? Because like this is how your body is constantly sending signals to your brain. I have unmet needs. Please meet my needs, and that's why. So, and the second one is journaling. Like journaling is a practice. Like, how many of you journal? Good. Okay, we have a few. So yeah, it's a really, really good practice, and today my job here is to explain why. So those tips are not new to most of you, I guess, but like maybe like the why behind it is not known to, I guess, many. And why is because like the journaling is a practice of integrating different parts of your brain. So we put it simply into two parts: your emotional brain and your rational brain. Okay, so when like our emotional brain's job is to feel, and sometimes we have strong feelings, and when our emotional brain is overly activated, our rational brain gets offline. It stops working. Yeah. So do you have that moment? Sometimes like when we're angry, we're really outrageous, we see some hurtful things, and we may regret later. We do some like things that I don't want to do if like when I'm calm and myself. That's why. It's because like when our emotional brain takes us over, our rational brain stops working. And journaling, we know that like the feeling is emotional brain's work. But in those moments, we are calling the rational brain to join the team, to teamwork with the emotional brain, because we know that language even is like your oral language. When you speak, when you talk to friends or talk to any like some grown-ups, or like you write, like when you are using words, you are engaging your rational brain. And this process itself can regulate you and your emotions. And that is why some journaling can be really helpful. I write down what happened, the thoughts I have, the feelings I have, and just put them into words that can help us regulate what's happening there. Sometimes it takes a practice because it doesn't happen naturally. I have like strong emotions, but I don't know what's happening there. And I do my best to put words in there. Just name the feelings and name the experiences and name the thoughts, put them down. That can be helpful. Okay, and even not just like for you guys, like teenagers, even for many grown-ups I work with, one of the goals we work towards is like integrated brain. That is like the mentally healthy and mature person should have, is an integrated brain, not just like separated. Like when I'm calm, I'm rational, I'm like emotional, I lose my ability to be rational. So integrated the brain is really important. And number 3, keep distance from your phone. This is like a very common thing, not just for you guys as teenagers again, and for grown-ups too. So even like nowadays, this is like I guess like this is another thing that your parents may say that to you again and again. But today I'm explaining why again. And most people are attached to their phones. Not just you. Maybe like you say, my parents do that too. My parents too, right? And this is like has something to do with the brain reward system. So, for example, like when you get a notification, your brain releases dopamine, and then you want more. Then your brain will release dopamine. This is a cycle, and then you want more and more and more. And then like you're attached to your phone. So when your phone is around you, you're more restless. You're more restless when your phone is around you. And this is like when you're trying to sleep, or like even like at night when you try to rest and sleep, or like when you're trying to focus on your study and on your homework. If your phone is around, unconsciously you are spending certain amount of energy to resist the urges to touch your phone. Yeah. It's true. It's not just for you guys, for grown-ups too. We're spending certain amount of energy to resist the urges to touch my phone. And that is that is why it's hard. It's harder to concentrate when you have your phone around. It's hard for you to relax to have your phone around. Yeah, and so with I'm like content creator, so I know this very well. And how I manage I create some like videos and like psychoeducational videos and like Chinese platforms. So how I manage my own restlessness around my phone or around the platforms and like what I do is like I don't have the apps on my phone. I don't I don't know like how many of you know like Chinese platforms like 小红书or Red Note, and so I only have it on an iPad that I don't use often, and I leave it downstairs. It doesn't go upstairs, and it's not on my phone. So to keep distance from it, because I know I'm weak. If it's on my phone, I will check it all the time. It's not easy, and so like for that, like I don't let the iPad go to the second floor. That's where I rest and where I work. So I don't. When I work, I see my clients 100% on Zoom. So when I work, I don't have my phone in that room, so that I don't have the temptation to touch my phone. That is like something like, because I know I'm weak. I'm not strong enough to resist that. And I don't want to spend that energy to resist the urges to touch my phone. This is what I do. And so with the phone, another thing is like social media, which also creates a lot of anxiety and stress. So I won't ask you to raise your hand, but like we know that when on social media is another thing I'm not saying like we shouldn't use it, just as you said, like I'm also using some like platforms and like with that too, but it's more about like how to manage the stress and how to keep distance from it. Even like when social media, it's like other people post like stuff on social media, we may think that that's an accurate representation of their life. We compare ourselves with them. Oh, my life sucks. Their life is much better but like sometimes we know that it's, even rationally, I know it's not the full picture. And rationally, we know this is not true. But like sometimes like we can still, like we compare ourselves and like we feel inferior, and we feel like we're not as good. And if like we post stuff, we will pay attention to, who likes my post and who leaves comments. How come this person likes other people's posts, not mine? It's a lot of like unnecessary anxiety and stress are coming from that. No, it doesn't make sense to you guys. This is why sometimes like being present, living offline is good for our mental health, and spending too much time on social media, on your phone, sometimes it's not helpful. Okay, next one. Yeah, learn to build a healthy sense of self. Yeah, for this one, we just talk about the negative self-talk sometimes people may have. And for sense of self is from interpersonal relationships. It's from like interactions with other people. It's basically how we see ourselves is from how other people see us, especially other grown-ups, your primary caregiver. And so this is maybe some other grown-ups or like teachers or coaches, like it's from there. It's not just like from the incidents, experiences that we had. It's from how other people interpreted what happened. So this is why sense of self is not something because I'm like, this is something like I disagree with that movie. Because like in that movie, just like release some like a memory balls, and then like that sense of self came out. No, it's not about that. It's more about like the interpersonal relationships. So if your parents are not good at verbal affirmation, if they're not good at appreciating you and acknowledging your strength, you may have a negative sense of self. Doesn't make sense. This is sometimes like when we have like that sense of self, we may think like, I would just like give some, like I'm a first-gen Chinese immigrant, so I was like, I know your parents' culture very well because I'm from it. And like last week or 2 weeks ago, like we had a English workshop at English congregation about mental health and EQ, and the speaker talked about validation. I told her we don't have a Chinese translation of this word because it doesn't exist in Chinese culture, in Chinese language. This is why sometimes it's so difficult, because you learn that in school, you have like a social emotional learning. You want validation, you want empathy, but your parents may struggle giving you that. Something you really need, but they don't understand. That's the sad part of the sometimes with a cultural gap between two generations. And so for here, I don't want us to stop here. So you may have an inner voice telling you that I'll say something like those are examples. I'm not saying like you really have those thoughts. If it happens to you, like I was saying, like that's really sad. So some people will say like I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm useless, I'm unworthy, I'm insignificant, I don't matter. Like if you have those voices, a voice saying those things to you, it's not true. It's not true, and it's not from you. It's internalized other people's perspective, which may not be true. And what is true is that in God's eyes, you are beautiful, you are unique, and you are precious, and you are loved, and you are His image bearer. And you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And He cares about you. Those are like biblical truth. He knows you by name. And He loves you. He knows your deepest thoughts you have. The darkness in the shadow in your heart, but He loves you. This is the truth. So sometimes even like our parents may be Christians, but like still, they have a long way to go to be more like God. So if there are like some internalized negative sense of self in you, that is not from God, and that is not true. Yeah, I want you to remember that. So we talk about when the sense of self comes out, you may start to attack yourself, and this is how you attack yourself. And God doesn't do that. And God's heart is broken when you do that. Yeah, He wants you to be cared for. Yeah. Okay, and the next, differentiate from your parents. Again, I'm not saying like all parents are good. In many ways, they have their limitations. This is what I'm trying to say, okay? So, and differentiation is another task is for teenagers, for you guys to achieve. As and we put it another way, I guess you may understand more, is identity development. That is also part of differentiation. So basically, you are developing your own identity. Someone who is different from your parents and from people around you, from your family, and you are becoming yourself. And so we talk about this, before we said, I don't know you, I don't know every one of you, and I don't know many of your family either. So this is I'm just talking about in general how things happen. It's we have more conflicts with parents in this time, and sometimes we may get into a power struggle with the parents. Right? So they want to control. We don't want to be controlled. So that's why we fight. And I want to get out of it. I'll get out of their control. So without a power struggle, you may think which direction you want to take to get where you want to get to your destination. So west, east, or north, or south. But with the power struggle, it becomes only action and reaction. We're not thinking. I'm just not doing what you ask me to do. So we're not thinking. So this is when we're talking about differentiate from your parents, the differentiations. Now, even parents are controlling. I think for myself, where do I want to get to? So what is my destination? What are my goals? What do I want to achieve? Is that do I want to take this direction? Because I'm this, you should go west, and I just want to go east. And so to think for myself where I want to go to and what goals I want to achieve, so that to get out of that power struggle. So sometimes we wanted approval, parents' approval badly. So this is this is another scenario. So we are relational beings. We need attachment, especially with our parents, because we're from them, and they're supposed to love us the most, right? So we want approval, appreciation from them. Sometimes when we don't get that, we may seek negative attention. So what is a positive? We talk about as a relational being, positive attention is better than negative attention, and negative attention is better than no attention. So positive attention, we talk about this as we feel seen, we feel understood and supported, we feel appreciated and enjoyed. Those are positive attention we all want, and which is totally good. And when we don't get that, we may seek negative attentions. I want to be punished. I want to provoke your anger to get some attention. It's the worst situations that I'm ignored. I'm transparent. I'm a ghost in the house. That's the worst situation. Sometimes when kids don't get the positive attention, we may seek negative attention. That's sometimes where the conflicts are from. I want to provoke you to get some attention from you. And in this one, I will encourage you guys to get a little more realistic. You know your parents. If you guys are getting positive attention, great. I'm thankful for that. You are very blessed. If that's not happening in your family, and I would just encourage you to accept that. To accept some parents, maybe because they didn't get that at all. Maybe that vocabulary doesn't exist for them. And so for some parents, so I don't know about your family, but so if that's not happening in your family, learn to accept that. They may not change. They may not be able to change. Because I'm working with some parents too, some older parents, the kids are teenagers, maybe your age or even older. It's really, really difficult, even for me as a therapist, to teach them how to validate their kids, how to listen unjudgmentally. It's really, really difficult for them to learn. So if this is I described what you are going through in your family, learn to accept that. Maybe that's your parents' limitations. They are good in many ways. They provide support in many ways, in many areas, but with the emotional support, they may not be able to. It's hard. It's hard to hear this. But if once we accept that, we will experience less disappointment. Yeah. So, and think more about who you want to be and what you want to do, about your own goals. To this identity development time, think more about who you want to be. And focus on that, set your own goals, and to just grow your passion for something you love, and to discover your talents. Even sometimes you may not get acknowledged in the family, but if you get some positive feedback from other people, from your teachers or peers, or some other people outside of the family, take that in. Take that in. So sometimes we may ignore the positive feedback we get from people because of negative sense of self. If you get positive feedback, people say yo, you're so good at this or that, believe them. Believe them. They don't do that to be nice. They don't have to. They say that because they say that because they see your talents and your strength. Believe them. Believe the good things other people say about you. Yeah. So we try not to only take in negatives and leave out the positives. Okay. Yeah. And next, build a support network. So this is we talk about. And now you're growing up. Your brain is developing rapidly, and you have more resources, you have more wisdom than before, and than the younger self. Oh, by the way, I don't work with kids younger than 12 because they are not as resourceful as you guys are. So you guys are more resourceful and more wise, and you have the more capacity to think. So this is you build a support network, not just in the family or outside the family, your peers in your youth group, your youth counselors, and so even friends at school, at your clubs, and orchestra, and everywhere. So build your support network. And if you wanted to reach out to some grown-ups, I do believe people are really willing to spend time with you and to invest in you, and including myself. If I'm not seeing, I don't see clients from our English congregation, but if seek mentorship, things like that. Grown-ups, we have with the English congregation, we have a multi-generational population, young adults and middle-aged, and even some older folks. I do believe people are very willing. But you need to take initiative. You need to take initiative, because if I reach out to you, maybe you don't want to, right? You are not open to. So you take initiative. People are willing to, and build a support network, the people who you trust, and to just to get resources and support, not just within the family, also outside of the family. Yeah. Any thoughts? And if your friends come to you for support, this is another question I got from Pastor Fanny. So, if your friends are coming to you for help, first of all, you need to know your limit. You're not there to solve their problems. You can't. So it's okay that you cannot solve their problems, and you listen empathetically, just validate them, and to be a support, to be listening ears, and that's huge already. And if your friends tell you about the suicidal ideation or self-harming actions or urges, please don't keep secrets. You tell your pastor, tell other people, grown-ups you trust, because this responsibility is too big for you to carry. Tell grown-ups, ask for help, because they need professional help, and they need because what you can provide is limited, and that is okay. Yeah, so don't burn yourself out, and don't carry too heavy loads that you are not able to carry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another question I do want to respond from from Pastor Pierce. Pastor Phinemon's email is if God loves me and I believe in Him, I'm a Christian, why am I suffering from mental health problems? This is we talk about the whole creation is growing. The whole creation is longing for the second coming of Christ. So because as long as we live in this fallen world, as long as we're in this, we're surrounded by sinners and broken people, even including myself and our parents, we are suffering, and we have mental issues. It's mental problem. It's a physical illnesses too, the same. As long as we live in this fallen world, we are suffering from physical and mental pain and struggles. Yeah, does it make sense? Even within the Bible, the heroes of faith, I would say definitely we see signs of depression, and we see signs of anxiety. So they also struggle with mental health problems. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a presentation. Yeah.
Thank you, Allison, for taking time to share with us. If you guys want, you guys can also ask questions. You can just raise your hand and I can pass the microphone over if you have any questions that you're curious about.
Yeah, I had a question. If you have a friend who has struggling with something and just wants to talk to you, when should you start giving advice over just listening to them?
Advice giving, so usually this is when I talk to parents, I ask them to refrain from giving advice. Try to listen, learn to listen, and don't jump too quickly into problem solving. If you have some advice, this is what I usually tell parents. If you have some wisdom to offer, you say, I have some advice. Do you want to hear or not? If the kids say, no, I don't want to listen. I know how to solve that problem. I just want you to listen, and then stop there. If it's yes, please, and then it's time for you to share. This is usually what I tell parents, respect their boundaries. If they are seeking advice, you give advice. If they're not seeking advice, they're seeking validation, empathy, you give empathy. Yeah, how does that sound? Yeah.
So this just happened during dinner time, and my sister was just ranting about this guy, and I kind of just walked out.
Wait, what do you say? Your sister, what?
My sister was ranting about this guy, and I got really annoyed at listening. And do you have any advice on what I should be doing if I don't want to listen to it, but I have to sit there to listen.
So like you feel like you're tired of listening. So you don't. So is it like, are you engaging in the conversation or not? Oh. If
Okay. So the question basically, so generalize the question. If someone is sharing a lot with you, but then you feel like you don't have the capacity or the desire to be there to listen, what do you do?
so, you can be excused. If this happens in my family, I will let you go. You don't have to sit there and listen to your sister if you don't want to. So for this one, because like sometimes we also respect our own limits. It's okay. If, so you ask this question because like usually some grown-ups, this happens more to like a lot of girls and like females and like grown-up females, like their parents treat them as like their therapist. So they will vent a lot. So I coach them to set limit. I can listen to you for 15 minutes. After that, I need to go. So to set boundary, that is okay. It is okay to set boundaries. And so, wait, are you guys siblings? So sister's also here. I'm sorry. Yeah, so for here, and yes, like we can always like, yeah, we have actually like today is like overview of this mental health topic. We can expand like any of those like small things, for example, like boundaries and like social skills, a lot of things to talk more about, but like we don't have time, but indeed it is very important to set boundaries. So sometimes like for sister to respect your brother's boundary as well. So it's okay if like he can be there for 15 minutes and then you let him go. Yeah, does it make sense? Okay.
What are some things you can do, or like how can you advocate for yourself if your boundaries aren't being respected?
Boundary is
It's a bug.
what?
I had to grab a bug off of her head. It's okay. Stink bug.
Ladybugs everywhere.
It's okay.
Okay, so like boundaries are more about self-control. Boundaries is like, for example, just as like I said, Yeti, if like I said, I can listen for 15 minutes and then after that I need to go to do my homework and then you leave. Yeah, so it's more about like if like other people, it's more about I respect my own boundaries. If like it's not about like you cannot do this or that to me, it's more about if you do this or that to me, I will take action. Yeah, so it's because like we cannot control other people, but we can control ourselves. Does it make sense? So if we have so for example, if like my two kids, like one is almost 10, the other one is 7. If someone is yelling at the other one, the one is yelling at the other one, I was like, I will stop playing with you when you yell. So and then like she may disengage and she go into her own room and then like do her own thing. It's not, I cannot control what you do, but I can control what I do when my boundary is crossed. Yeah.
Like, how do you stop like worrying about stuff?
What?
How do you stop like worrying about stuff?
Worry? Yeah, that's a good question. Because like anxiety, so worrying too much is like one symptom of anxiety. Sometimes because we cannot stop here, it's like we are so in here. So one thing that is the key antidote to anxiety is living in the present. Is living in the present. So it's because like when we're worrying, we're living in the future. So living in the present, like there are ways to practice living in the present. Like something I practice myself. It's like mindfulness. Like if you have heard of that, so use your physical body as an anchor. You use your physical body as an anchor to live in the present. Because like when we worry too much, we are living here. We're not in this body and in the present. One thing I practice is like I close my eyes and I practice breathing, just only focus on my body. When my mind wanders, I bring it back and I focus on my body. And I practice a few minutes, and then that's good. And other things is like one thing at a time. So for example, when you are washing your hands, you focus on washing your hands. You feel water, the bubbles on your finger and your skin. Like just use your physical body as an anchor to live in the present, and one thing at a time. So that is, and when you eat, don't watch your videos or like don't go on your devices. Just focus on how, like the taste in your mouth, and so the stuff like basically like living mindfully. That's a way to get out of like we don't get stuck in here. Okay, but it takes a lot of practice.
If my friend's like struggle, she has she's like sleep deprived, and she goes to bed like 5 a.m. doing homework, and she doesn't get enough sleep. Like, how do I help her with that? Yeah.
Wow. I found like if like friends, she may need professional help. Yeah, I think so. It's like that's a little too much, right? Yeah. What you can do might be limited. And yeah, if like your friend stays up to the 5 a.m. to do homework, I think she needs a professional help. So encourage her to seek professional therapy. Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, we're going to do like 2 more questions, and I think we got to close out. We'll do Addison and then Dominic.
How are you supposed to stop being like trying to get everything perfect?
Get what?
Everything perfect.
Oh, like a
How to stop
perfectionism.
wanting to be perfect.
I can have another presentation on that one. So perfectionism for some people are like some people are born with like tendency to strive for perfectionism, like my son. And some people like it's more from like outside and like external factors, and learn to be okay with like. So this is like what I tell my son, because like he gets frustrated when he made mistakes in his music, and so. So violinists don't understand that. So this is like I told about like a growth mindset. You're making mistakes. That's because like you're growing. That's why you're having more challenging pieces, more challenging music, because you're growing. You're becoming a better musician. Making mistake is a great thing. That means like you are getting better. So we change that relationship with mistakes. Mistakes are not bad, they're good. The best way for you to learn is through your mistakes. It's okay that like fear of making mistakes or the desire to get perfect, it hinders you from growing. So making mistakes is a great thing. Just give yourself permission to make mistakes, and then you are brave that you are taking challenges. You are brave, so it's a good thing. You are taking challenges and you are making mistakes. Yeah, so what I told him is like, do you want to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star again? You will not make a mistake. I said, no, I don't want to. So welcome mistakes, right? Okay, thanks.
If you get angry, if like you get angry at your mother for parent for doing something that you didn't like and think it was unfair, but you can't get angry because you'll get in trouble for being angry, what do you do?
It's okay to get angry, but it's not okay to act on your anger. Yeah, that's a difference. It's normal for you to get angry. That's totally valid. This is like the efficiency. This is like how do you recite? 生气却不要犯罪. Translate for me.
The quote is from Ephesians. In English, it says, "In your anger, do not sin."
Yeah. So this is like we have our emotions are totally valid, and they are there for a reason, and they are good. They are telling you something, and they are messengers. But our expressions of anger may not be good. They may be destructive or disrespectful. So be angry, but be careful with how you express your anger. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, we regulate ourselves to say, I was mad. And you use your words to say, I was angry because of this and that. But we don't smash plates and stuff. That's not helpful. Does it make sense? Yeah.
All right. I think we're out of time for questions. But thank you very much, Allison, for spending time with us and for answering our questions.